Hey guys, Classic Max here. Today I want to talk about my top 10 films for 2013. These are not necessarily the films which got the highest rating from critics or are on any technical basis the best, just based on which movies I enjoyed the most. You may disagree, you may agree on some of the entries, but before we begin, I just want to throw out a few honorable mentions. Most notably, Don John, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's directorial debut about the differences in expectations of relationships. Star Trek Into Darkness, the second entry in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek series. Only God Forgives. Although I really enjoyed this movie, it was just too weird to throw on this list. Lastly, Captain Phillips, a return to form for Tom Hanks, which really showed that he's still got it. He's still a top actor and really put on a powerful performance about this true life story. We start off the list at number 10 with Elysium. I have really liked Neil Blomkamp. His directorial debut, District 9, was an amazing science fiction film which was really a look at xenophobia in South Africa and the world. And Elysium was no different. It was really a social commentary wrapped up in the package of a sci-fi movie, and really a look at poverty and richness and just the divide between those two economic classes. Not only was it a stellar social commentary, it was just plain an awesome action film. And Matt Damon did not disappoint. Mud. One of the two films this year where Matthew McConaughey puts on the performance of his career. I've not seen Dallas Buyers Club, but everyone who has seen it says he is just fantastic. Same thing with Mud. It's a really great story that he just really pulls off such an amazing performance as in the lead role that it's just, you forget that Matthew McConaughey used to be the king of just bad rom-coms. Number 8 was a Canadian indie film that debuted at the Toronto International Film Festival and is due for wide release sometime next year. Art of the Steal. Such an amazingly funny, well-acted movie starring Jay Baruchel, Kurt Russell, and Matt Dillon. It just was a heist movie that took really unexpected direction, and despite comparisons to Ocean's 11, it was really unique in the way that the heist was performed and planned, and just led to a really unique feel of the film with a uniquely Canadian twist, which, go Canada. Number 7 is American Hustle, and once again, David O. Russell, for the second year in a row, has made one of the year's best films. Everything from the acting to just the writing in this movie was fantastic. Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Christian Bale, Amy Adams, and Jeremy Renner put on fantastic performances as the movie's leads in this movie about the ab-scam scandals in the 1970s and 80s. Even actors who had smaller parts and cameos put on just fantastic performances, including Louis C.K., who is one of the best comedians out there and proves that beyond even Louis, he can act in what's a fairly dramatic movie. At number 6 is the only proper comedy on the list, and one of 5 films I gave a 10 out of 10 to this year. This Is the End is the hilarious movie that stars Jay Baruchel, Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill, James Franco, and Craig T. Robinson as basically fictionalized versions of themselves surviving the apocalypse. What's so funny about this movie is how they constantly poke fun at themselves, other actors, and just the stereotypes and realities of Hollywood actors, and what would actually happen if not the characters they play, were trapped in an apocalyptic scenario. It was probably the funniest movie of this year, and just one of the best films. I just loved every little bit of it, and just all the great references and jokes, poking fun at not just themselves, their movies, but just Hollywood in general made this one of the most enjoyable and hilarious movies of the year. At number 5 is Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim is just one of those movies you just have to see in theaters, just because the vast majority of home theater systems just can't replicate what it's like to actually see it in a proper theater, especially IMAX. Seeing this movie in IMAX is kind of mind-blowing, just because of how amazing the visual effects were. And honestly, you need good visual effects to pull off something as epic as giant-ass robots fighting giant-ass monsters and just amazingly good carnage. Guillermo del Toro put such imagination and thought into creating the world of Pacific Rim, and it really deserves to be watched. Even if the acting kind of sucked, I will agree with you there, Drew. It was just still an amazingly fun movie to go see, and that's really all you're going to see it for, is just how much fun you're gonna have watching this movie, because it was just too awesome. One of the most disturbing, depressing, and just moving films in the past decade. 12 Years a Slave. There is just something about this movie that you have to watch it from start to finish. It's hard, it's just really hard to watch from start to finish, but you just owe it to yourself to do so, just because of how great a movie this is. And it's not the movie you really ever want to see again, but you'll be glad you saw it, just because it illustrates just the horrors and just atrocities of slavery in the United States during the 19th century. And there's no sugarcoating at all. Just everything about it is so brutal. Benedict Cumberbatch, Michael Fassbender, and Chiwetel Ejiofor, I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, just put on such stellar and groundbreaking performances that they all deserve Academy Awards, Golden Globes, but there are also other actors out there that deserved. But either way, all put together, it's a movie that it's hard to describe really what you feel. Everyone will experience it differently, but you're not going to come out of that movie with a smile or a happy feeling left in your body for at least a few hours or days. At number 3 is The Book Thief, the story of an intelligent and brave little girl growing up in Nazi Germany. This film, I really felt that critics were way too harsh on it, and that the performances by both the lead Sophie Neligier, I can't pronounce her name, and Jeffrey Rush were just brilliant. Both of them put on just fantastic performances that I doubt will really be nominated for many awards, but were moving nonetheless. While it was a bit much more lighthearted than something like 12 Years a Slave, it still had an equally depressing ending, which really did fit the film, but still just was so depressing despite how heartwarming the story was. What I really enjoyed most about this film was the fact that it was shown from the perspective of a little girl who was intelligent but nonetheless just could not truly understand what was going on in Nazi Germany, but still showed like both what was so bad about it and just how many managed to triumph and just continue on despite the kind of regime that was running the country at the time. This year, my second favorite film was Rush. Rush is the true story of the 1976 World Drivers' Championship of Formula One. Rush basically revolves around the rivalry between drivers James Hunt and previous world champion Niki Lauda. And what's so great about this movie is just both the intensity that both of them bring to the competition and really just the showcase that was F1 back then. Everything about F1 was spectacular. The drivers, the cars, even just the party lifestyle that they led. And it's all shown in this film, directed by Ron Howard, and it's just spectacular. I saw this movie 4 times in theaters, partially because there's just something about it that just you cannot replicate with the home theater system. The giant speakers in good movie theaters just produce such a verbosity and immense sound to the cars that the only thing that's better is actually seeing an F1 race in real life. This movie just recreated just the high-paced, high-octane atmosphere that was F1 of the 1970s, really the glamour age of F1. And even the acting in this movie was superb. Daniel Bruhl really deserves the Golden Globe nomination that he got. Even Chris Hemsworth, I thought, could have been nominated for Golden Globe, although I can certainly see why he missed out on that. And now, for my number 1 movie of this year, just my absolute favorite, the best movie of the year.
22 million in 3 hours!
The real question is this, was all this legal?
This is my home!
Good for you, little man. Me, the little man.
The show goes on! They're gonna need to send in the National Guard to take me out, cause I ain't going nowhere!
We don't work for you, man.
You have my money taped to your boobs. Technically, you do work for me.
The Wolf of Wall Street! Oh my god, I love this film. Just the most magnificent film I've seen all year. There's just something just so good about it. It's almost undescribable. Directed by Martin Scorsese, just another landmark movie from him. This truly was the Goodfellas of corporate crime. There was just nothing this year that matched Wolf of Wall Street for just its display of excess, debauchery, and greed. Just everything about this movie was fantastic, not necessarily over the top, but just right at the level of crazy that it needed to be. Leonardo DiCaprio once again put on just a stellar performance, just career-defining performance, as the titular Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, the real-life criminal stockbroker who led just an insane party lifestyle. Included in the cast is Jonah Hill, who really proves that Moneyball was not a one-off thing. He really is a terrific actor. As well, Matthew McConaughey, in a bit of a small but inspired part, it just pulls off another one of his great performances this year. Everything about this movie was fantastic. Even its 3-hour running time did not feel excessive. Anything you cut out of this movie you'd basically lose context as to everything that happened to the life of Jordan Belfort and everyone at Stratford Oakmont. Everything from just their criminal schemes to just their insane parties was really necessary to tell the story of the Wolf of Wall Street. So, what did you guys think were some of the best films of the year? I did leave out movies such as Saving Mr. Banks, Gravity, and Dallas Buyers Club simply because I have not seen them, and I will not put anything on the list that I have not seen, no matter how good the critics and other people I know say they are. So, what were your guys' favorite films of the year? Leave it as a comment or as a video response down below. Otherwise, like, favorite, subscribe, and tell me, what movies are you looking forward to in 2014? Leave it down in the comment section below. Otherwise, see ya!